There is no doubt that RWBY has been an important part of many people's lives. I remember watching Volume 1 when it aired, and me and my friends still have watch parties for every new episode that releases to this day. For the past decade, thousands of fans of all ages and backgrounds have been brought together, all because this show had something that they enjoyed. And it's easy to see why. Whether it be the fights that were extremely fast and eye-catching, or the great characters with unique, colorful designs that were appealing, there was something for everyone. Yet despite all of this, RWBY has an awful reputation even from the fans themselves. The show has always strived for greatness, and many times has fallen on its face while trying to reach it. It's had its fair share of writing blunders and great scenes alike. So what made RWBY seemingly lose its spark? Most attribute this to the release of Volume 4. There were a multitude of reasons why people could have stopped watching around this time. The fight scenes, something that had defined the series for the fans, felt seemingly different from the previous volumes. The entire art style had changed due to the crew using a new engine, and it was hard to get used to. And even though it had happened prior to the release of Volume 4, the one that hurt the most for fans was the passing of the show's creator, Monty Oum, in February of 2015. Rest in peace, Monty. I admit that when Volume 4 released, I had lost interest, even though I had been a huge fan of the previous 3. I didn't watch the whole thing until the 5th volume was going to air. It was such a massive shift from the RWBY I'd known at the time. Plus, every member of Team RWBY were all going through drastic arcs. They were no longer together, and I missed their chemistry. Once I had started watching RWBY again during Volume 5, after trudging through the 4th, it never felt the same to me. It was the same show I was growing up with and the same characters I loved, but I hadn't seen it the same way I had when I was a massive fan. Something had changed. Even though every volume the story and writing improved and was enough to hook my interest, even though that through volumes 6 to 8, I didn't have as many negative things to say as before. I mean, sure, I still had some gripes with how things went, but overall I enjoyed these volumes. Still, it had felt that I was tuning in every week due to an obligation to see a beloved childhood story finally come to its end. Though, everything was different once I saw Volume 9. Something that made me feel the way I did about the show when I was younger. Volume 9 has been a wonderfully crafted addition to the RWBY series so far. You can really tell just by how expressive the characters are that they really used the 2-year gap they had between Volume 8 and 9 to improve the quality of the show. There's been an episode that really struck a chord with me, however, and that's Episode 6 of Volume 9, Confessions Within Cumulonimbus Clouds. Spoilers ahead if you haven't seen it yet, and I highly recommend that you do. Now, let's dive into this very special episode. This episode has a scene that will forever go down in RWBY history as one of the most beloved moments in the entire series. A scene that is so brilliantly put together with emotional music, a breathtaking setting, and the culmination of a decade of character writing. Yes, I am talking about Blake and Yang's confession of love. These two characters have been walking down this path for a very long time, and you can feel it deep down when they finally start to acknowledge it. The scene starts with the two of them separated on bridges with missing steps, connected to a platform in the middle. It makes them wonder how they take the next step. Even though everyone else had been taken to a crossroads, Blake and Yang's problem was just between them and took precedent over anything else. The way they learn to come to terms with their feelings is written completely true to their characters and is genuinely one of the most beautiful confession scenes I have ever seen. Blake has learned that her emotions are what empowers her and make her stronger. This is shown in the way she takes the reins in this situation, even though Yang is usually the one to act first in times of danger. Her speech to Yang shows just what she has come to think of her since she's known her. She is an extraordinary person. the first to try and shine light in a hopeless situation. Someone who shows bravery when they're afraid, and someone who will always do what they say. Yang gave Blake the courage to be the person she wanted to be, to stay true and never betray who she is, to be a symbol of hope to people who are scared, to be a huntress. Then there's Yang, who's an extremely tough and stoic person. However, she hasn't been truly comfortable showing her true feelings to anyone but Blake, thinking that she had to be the tough one to bear it all for her team. Yang's speech shows that despite her rough exterior, she is extremely thankful for Blake for understanding her and showing her how to be resilient in the face of uncertainty, to never give up on what you want, just like a huntress. When things start hitting their stride, Yang shows off her cocky and confident side, but she gets caught off guard by her emotions overpowering her when she sees Blake staring at her happily from across the bridge. Yang, showing her true colors, starts being bashful and she retreats while breaking eye contact. The way the bridges retract after this shows them both, but mainly Yang, that these feelings are very real and should not be disregarded. Yang is scared that her emotions won't be reciprocated, and if she says it out loud, it will be unreversible, like falling off a cliff. But she had told herself just episodes prior that if something's missing, it isn't because she's lost it. She just hasn't found it yet. Blake knows full well what is happening here and believes they're already falling off the cliff and urges her, just say it. I think I love you. I love you too. Blake barely lets her finish. The borders between them on the screen grow to lilies as the sun shines brightly and the music finally swells to take over the scene. No longer are they on distant bridges. They have reached the platform. They are together. They blush as they accept each other's feelings and kiss as the flowers grow around them and the scene ends. My description of the scene can't even compare to how well it plays on the screen. Blake and Yang's romance is wonderful because they each have something the other doesn't. They make each other whole and inspire each other to be better. This will only serve to make the motivations for both of these characters so much stronger than they were prior, and have them ready to face the hardships together rather than alone. There are so many intricacies in this scene that you can pick apart. The flowers that grow and the lyrics of the song being a callback to another song, Bumbleby, from Volume 4, which was about these two lovers. Even the body language of the characters is thought of down to the last minute detail. At the moment of their kiss, Yang hesitates for a second, being thoughtful of Blake's feelings and trying not to do anything she wouldn't like. Blake smiles even deeper to tell Yang that it's fine and she wants to kiss her too. I learned later that the lilies aren't just a callback to flowers growing in the song Bumbleby, but they actually share the same word for women's love in Japanese. The fact that RWBY thought so in-depthly for the culmination of these characters' journey up to this point just shows how much they care for not only the series as a whole, but to the characters on an emotional level and the fan base. They don't want to give a mediocre product, and instead they try as hard as they can to deliver something amazing. The first time I saw this scene, I almost cried. The more I watch it, and trust me, I've watched it a lot, I get even more emotional than I did the first time I saw it. The fact that I get this emotional over these two characters finally confessing their love made me realize something important. That I too love and appreciate this show. I love the story and these characters. I realized that I'm very much attached to RWBY as a whole. After finishing this episode when it aired, I was inspired. I headed straight to my sketchbook And even though I'm not much of an artist, I drew a combination of Blake and Yang's signature emblems. I then went and wrote a script for my first video. These serve as my small but meaningful contributions to a series that has been with me for half of my life. Some may think it's silly, or that I'm exaggerating the impact this episode had on me, but I promise I'm not. These are very real emotions I, and hopefully many others, felt at the time and continue to feel even now. Blake and Yang weren't my favorite characters either. Weiss is, so it wasn't a bias. And yet, it still moved me to tears when this happened, made me feel these feelings. Realizing this made me want to rewatch the entire show again with my newfound respect. So, I probably will. Because this episode made it sink in that now, at least to me, RWBY has finally rekindled its long-lost spark. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, I'm Dillionaire, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing and giving it a like, and potentially even sharing it with a friend. It would tell me that I did a good job. This video means a lot to me, and I'm proud of it. Did you agree with me? Do you vehemently disagree? Let me know in the comments, because every opinion is a valid one. Except for homophobia, I do not tolerate that here. Thank you, and have a great day.